Hey everybody, welcome to the live stream. We are back and you are in the right place. Tonight we've got a special guest from Shepherd's Workbench. Joe's going to be here with us. We're going to do the countdown right now. If you're watching this on replay, you may want to fast forward about 11 minutes and catch Joe when he gets on here. Otherwise, stick with us and enjoy the countdown.
Just buying that software isn't what makes the difference. You've got to learn to use that tool, just like you've got to learn to use your high-end Powermatic woodworking tools or Festool for Sedge out there.
So I think you got to kind of leverage all of it.
And I just realized this is a new camera. I didn't take off the protective plastic over it, so I don't know if that was blurry or not for you. Oops.
Oh, hey, look at that.
In your little intro, which was very well put together, as I was sitting backstage and you had all these little clips from your previous guests, there was lots of good information in there. But somebody mentioned, just finding that thing that you love and do the thing you love. Don't make things that you don't like making.
In terms of growing a business, especially a business where you make things, is make the things you want to sell. I want to say Brad Rodriguez said this many times a while back, where it's like, if you don't want to sell cutting boards, stop making cutting boards. If you want to sell tables, make some tables and sell them at a loss if you have to, just to get some tables out there you sold. You attract clients that you can show you've actually made a thing. If you're trying to sell couches, don't keep making coasters telling people you can make couches. Make some couches.
A lot of times, usually when people start out on YouTube or when they're building a YouTube channel, they'll feel like their energies, if it's a scale of 1 to 10, they'll feel like they're at like an 8 or a 9, and they'll be like, woohoo! But then when they actually watch themselves on camera, it's actually more like a 2 or 3.
We do take sponsors, especially as a lot of the smaller channels. And there's two ways that they talk about sponsorship. Sponsorship is someone paying you to do something, and the other one is getting free tools and stuff.
Launch day is my favorite day. That is my favorite day of the week. I just absolutely love launching videos and getting the feedback. So yeah, that's most videos take 4 to 5 full days to make. And I would like to streamline that. I would like to put out more videos in a week.
It's really kind of sad because I didn't get involved even when he was doing the noodle boards. He pretty much did all that. I did everything in the house so that he could stay in the shop a lot.
I am a little conflicted, I think. It initially started off with just sharing like my sewing machines and sewing tips and stuff like that. And then it kind of morphed into sharing the Mastering Mayhem merch items that I was making. And then along the way, I kind of shared some DeWalt tool and obsessions that I've had.
Hats off to Ira. I mean, I can't imagine doing it with small kids. That's a lot of work.
Well, this is a little chaotic, so.
My part really didn't start until Live Edge started. When we started Live Edge, I don't know, I felt different about everything. It felt real to me. I think everything started feeling real to him, after the first few months because he was in the shop. It didn't really feel real to me until Live Edge started. And now I see this as my future too. I don't think I'll be a teacher much longer.
Because I wasn't quite niched enough, but I think because my channel name is I Don't Even Work Here, I think I'm just going to roll with.
I'm going to put out some shorts for stage.
One thing I'm good at probably more than anything else is business and understanding the way businesses work and how to run a business. And I always come at from very much the money ball approach. I don't want to hit home runs. I just want to get on base and get on base and get on base.
And I think it's easier for people to look at my story, for example, or anybody like in a similar story and think that was an easy decision. And I can't state how much that was a very hard decision for both my wife and I.
I like the premise of doing a tool review, comparing two tools, and especially if they are popular tools.
You can make the life you want to, you can make the business you want to, whatever it is you want to make.
It wasn't like YouTube's good and this and that. Like I was still pretty new to YouTube and didn't know that was sustainable long term, and so it was a gamble. And I'd worked for a long time to get in the position I was at, and it was a very, very hard decision to basically give that up for potentially the rest of my life.
I never even considered the second channel. I just think all of my content needs to go where I am.
It's a lot of risk and fear, but moving through those deliberately.
There's a system to it, and you follow that system.
So what have you learned and done to try to change? And so that's the thing I always do is it's a continuous process of evolution.
Scheduling and trying to edit and get a video out, like it's really hard to follow exactly. If you do that and do it consistently, it'll generate views.
Interesting, a lot of times you might see channels or businesses that are frustrated because they're not growing, and you look and you realize that for years or dozens of iterations, you look at the most recent and you go back a few years or a few dozen iterations and there's zero change.
I'd like to see channels evolve into more of like a channel, like we're traditional like TV channel, where you have a channel, but there's different shows within that channel. And, you could have the segment for your shorts or your live streams and your longs, all these different things that people can kind of just pick and choose what they want to watch.
And my goal isn't to get the most views on YouTube. My goal is, to provide confidence, inspiration, and knowledge through entertaining and engaging content. So
what's the next step? What is the next thing? What's going to get you to that next place?
You got to get them to click. You got to get them to watch. I'm terrible at thumbnails. I hate doing them. I would stress so bad over doing them. I've actually hired somebody else to do them now. That's why they look different. I'm not doing them anymore. I took that out of my hands, and I'm stress-free on that part.
Another thing is also onboarding people that are better than me at something. So I have an editor I've been working with for about 2 years now.
One day it just kind of hit me that, okay, I watch a lot of these videos and I obviously find value in them. Why can I not be the person on the other side of the camera, right? Providing the content and the information.
With me being a business-minded individual and trying to make sure that I'm providing for my family, but also always growing.
Our audience smells authenticity, and whether or not you're enjoying what you do very easy.
I'll always be that individual that loves YouTube, that always wants to do extremely detailed videos on how to build.
I feel like the biggest challenge is probably getting yelled at to put on protective.
I'm still focused on my woodworking. I'm focused on trying to get better. I just want to try new things and break barriers and just be the best woodworker I can be, and then document that. I just don't really have the time or desire to really become a student of YouTube. So I'm always playing catch up. I'm always just doing the best I can to get the most out of what we're doing, but I am no student of YouTube, that's for sure.
A good plan of attack is to create a channel on YouTube or an account on YouTube that you don't have any ties to. You've never watched anything on there, and just start watching content you're interested in on that channel. Don't watch the news, or don't click off and start watching, the latest episode or whatever. Just use that account strictly for that, and that'll kind of start drumming up what's being surfaced to people. And then from there, you can kind of...
as far as equipment goes, and I say this adamantly all the time, there is nothing I've ever made that I couldn't make by hand. And I have a skill set that I've developed that I could make it by hand. Does having a CNC make it faster? You bet it does.
The big change that I've seen is that people have gotten even shorter attention spans than normal. So if you are going to start a YouTube channel and you're going to start recording yourself working, keep the pace really, really fast. People get bored super quick, and when they get bored, they either start tapping those arrow keys to speed through the video, or else they'll just drag the slider across the screen so that they can speed through and skip to the end and see what you've built. But if you want to engage them throughout the whole video, you've got to keep the pace really, really fast.
Basically structure your channel so that you generate more views. They watch one video, they're going to watch the next, the next, the next. If you look, and you can tell the difference I can see it in my analytics. I can see it in the way my channel's structured.
The first thing that I would recommend to anybody, and this of course applies to any niche that you're looking to start a channel for, is before you even take the first steps in terms of researching and all that, which we'll talk about in a second, I would have a really honest conversation with yourself about what you're looking to get out of the channel and what your expectations are.
As a rule of thumb, post-production takes 6 times recorded footage length. Not shoot time, but recorded footage length. So if you record a 5-minute clip, it's going to take you a minimum of 30 minutes to edit that 5-minute clip, even if you only edit down into 30 seconds, because you have to watch it, then you make some notes, and then you watch it again, you make some cuts, and you watch it again, and then when it fits into the timeline, by a rule, you're going to see that same clip roughly 6 times.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Hey, everybody. We're here trying to make Monday nights great. I hope that you're having a good day, and I hope that the blessings that you're receiving are well recognized, and I'm glad to have you here. We missed last week because of Independence Day celebration. Had a great time with family. I hope you did as well. I hope that you're having a great week this week so far. Let's get started. So the first thing is remind you that the chat is where it's at. If you chat it up with each other, sending each other messages, sending our guest messages or me messages, I think you will enjoy this much more. And I think that's really one of the great benefits of having a live stream is the interaction that we can have. Also, feel free to ask a question, but if you do in the chat comment, please put a Q at the beginning. It helps me find it and save it off to try to get your answers before the end of the live stream. If you have a milestone to share, whether you had the birth of a child, someone graduated, someone was spared from an injury, whatever the case may be, whatever you are celebrating in your life, whatever you're thankful for, share it with us. We want to celebrate with you, and I hope that it's a great milestone week, that you are celebrating many things. Let's bring on our guest. He has Shepherd's Workbench over on YouTube, and super glad to have him. Please help me welcome Joe Shepherd.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Hey man, how you doing?
I'm good. It's good to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, I don't want to give it away because I want people to go watch your video. But how's your finger doing?
Oh, this one? It's doing okay.
Mr. 9 3/4.
Yes. I almost wore my shirt today, but I forgot it. So,
for those that don't know, Joe had a slight mishap with a circular saw.
Yep.
And he has a couple of videos out there on his channel about it. Nothing gruesome. You don't have to worry about that. But just sharing the experience so we don't make the same mistakes. Yeah. And some little lighthearted humor about it, especially in the second video.
Yeah.
Where he has some clips in there from other things to add to the fun. So
yeah, I took a more humorous approach in the second one because I realized I had a real serious tone after I finished editing the first one, and I was like, that's probably purposeful, but I was like, yeah, I want to make sure people aren't taking me too seriously because they'll be disappointed. So
yeah, it's one of those things. I'm glad it's healing up well, and they were able to give you functionality in one of the other fingers, and so you just missing a third of one, right?
Yeah, and the worst part is like when I try to scoop up like a handful of like screws, they all tend to fall out of this little hole here because I can't close it all the way. So M&Ms, Skittles, and small hardware is just impossible to hold on to.
Yeah, nice distribution system.
Yeah,
for the
exactly.
M&Ms,
Yeah, just kind of shake them up and
you're a youth pastor, right?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah. So I bet your youth at your church had all kind of questions about it.
Questions and jokes. Like where I got most of the material for both of those videos was from the kids for the most part. So yeah, I have stickers on my laptop in my office here. I have t-shirts, all kinds of stuff about the whole 9 3/4 or half the man he used to be, all kinds of stuff like that I get. So yeah, it keeps me humble.
You know, whenever this topic comes up in Facebook, Instagram, there's always comments out there from people, you know, I've been a master carpenter for 50 years and never had an accident. It's all about paying attention. And then you have other people who are like, well, I've been a master carpenter for most of my life, and 10 years in, I lost 2 fingers because I had a momentary mistake. And so the comments vary. The negative ones trying to insult you do not add to the conversation. They don't benefit anyone.
No, yeah, and I will say it's an overarching, like, resounding. Most people were super supportive. They were like, "Hey, I've been on the job for 50 years, and I have all my fingers." It's like, but I've known so many people who have had accidents, who have gotten hurt, and it's all happens in a split second. Nobody plans on it, obviously, but it's like it could happen to anybody. It was the majority of people. There's a few people in there that kind of that said stuff, and at first I tried to engage with them, and I'm kind of like, all right, thanks for watching the video, and just leave it at that.
Yeah, usually those people are not there to smooth things out in the conversation. They're there to escalate it.
Yeah, I think I highlighted it in the second video, where one comment was like, "Were you high when you did this? I've been doing this for how many years? It never happened to me." And I'm like, all right, thanks for watching the video. Just let it go.
Yeah, you can't change their minds.
Exactly.
And the end result is that yes, you lost part of a finger and you have another one that's got a nice angle on it.
Oh yeah.
But in the end, you're healing up. Things are well. Lesson learned. I think lesson learned, lesson taught was on your video.
Yep.
So yeah, we all need to be mindful when dealing with power equipment. I believe there's a casual approach to the circular saw out there from a lot of people who've been doing it a long time. I've been on construction sites before, and there's definitely I've seen some bad practices. I've seen people without a guard on their saw.
I've seen guys lay a board across their thigh and rip it, and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and do some kind of balancing act up against something else. They're holding the board. They got their thumb right there, and they're just missing it by a half inch, and they do it. So in a lifetime, they may do it 10,000 times, and they may or may not have an incident. But we've all seen it. A lot of people have more respect, or some people are more scared of the table saw because you hear so much about the table saw.
Yeah. Well, SawStop's made millions on that premise alone. So.
Yeah. So the next thing coming out's the SawStop circular saw, right?
I would be the first to buy it if it came out.
That'd be great. That'd be great. So, congratulations on your latest milestone on your YouTube channel. I think you're growing. You're getting a great base audience there to grow with, and are you still having fun at it?
Oh yeah. I'm coming up to almost 100,000 views, which is super exciting. But yeah, it's and we'll probably talk about this a little later, but ultimately I do it because I want to put out quality content, because I love my audience. They're super great. Most people that watch my videos are awesome. But ultimately I'm doing it for myself. Like, I enjoy making the content. I enjoy putting myself in a position to teach people things. Like, that's like for my full-time job now. So it's like, I do it because I enjoy it. I kind of like to keep that library of it. So, so I find enjoyment out of it, which is the main goal, really.
Yeah. There's a lot of reasons to have a YouTube channel. Some people are just documenting what they do for their own purposes, and they really don't care if they get viewers. Then you have the other extreme that you have the people that think that they're going to become famous, and the only reason they're going through the motions is hoping to make it big, or make enough money at it. And then there's a spectrum in between of people that enjoy making the content, some of them want to make money, some of them want to provide a service to others, provide content for others. Where do you think you fall in that spectrum of reasons?
So it's changed a little bit over the years. So the overarching principle is no matter what, I don't think I'll ever not do what I do for the church. Right now, this is my full-time job working as a youth pastor. It started off where I had a small business where I was doing small little projects for friends, family, kind of word of mouth sort of advertising, doing projects for people and whatnot. And so I started the YouTube channel as a way of creating a portfolio, having an online presence where people could see not just the projects that I'm capable of making, but the kind of techniques and materials that I'm capable of working with. That was the main goal of it. And I guess when it started gaining some traction, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. You know, I really just enjoyed making the videos. It was a lot of fun, really engaging in the community. Before I found our Facebook page, I connected with Jake from Make with Jake over Reddit, actually. And he's the one who I kind of found out about, you know, more people in the community, and just being able to engage just with other content creators and other woodworkers in our niche. You know, it's awesome to kind of geek out on analytics and thumbnails and, you know, titles and all of that kind of stuff. And so, I got more and more involved in it. And now it's more, I enjoy the community. I enjoy making videos. Would it be awesome to make 6 figures making YouTube videos? Sure. I would not say no to that, but it's just, for me, it's just fun just to make the videos and have, you know, the engagement with people all over the world. There's a guy that I talk to pretty regularly or at least he comments on my stuff pretty regularly, who's like from Ireland, and we, you know, always go back and forth and comment. So it's just kind of cool to be able to engage with people. And that's really what I do it for.
Yeah. For me as well, the community that you can reach on YouTube is far surpasses what I could find here locally.
Yeah.
And being able to share with others has always been a driving factor for me. And I've always wanted to learn how to make videos and, you know, a little bit of editing and, you know, as an additional hobby to what I did with my woodworking. But, you know, I want to make cool stuff with my minimalist equipment and share that process as I can. But I've really fallen in love with this channel and building the community here. I just love interacting with people like you and all our viewers who have so many different goals in life, but we have something in common, and that we love the process, right? The woodworking and YouTube process.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think's your primary target audience? Who's your avatar that you're trying to make content for?
Quite honestly, it's really for, I make videos for the guys who are watching YouTube just like me, where it's, I will watch like videos where it's like a super simple project, because in a lot of those videos you can find stuff that's like, oh, I'm not going to make this project, but that's a cool way of doing something. You know, like tips and tricks videos are great. Like I'm not knocking any of them, but most of the time it's those tips and tricks videos will, you consume the information and it's lost in the verse somewhere else, you know, like, but when you're watching someone applying a technique into a certain project, it kind of sticks out more, to me at least. So I'll watch projects that are super simple, like making a box and finding new ways to create a jewelry box, but also watch like Colin Furs create a flying car and think like, oh, I can use that technique in, you know, creating brass splines or something like that. So really what I'm trying to, with each one of my project videos, yes, they are projects. Yes, that's predominantly what I'm pushing is the item that I'm building or build plans that I create. But it's, I hope to create the video for the entertainment value and the things that people are going to learn by watching the video, even if they don't make the project that I'm talking about. So I would say I'm creating videos really for the people who are simply watching because they're just They enjoy making videos. They enjoy, or not making videos. They enjoy just spending time in their shop, and they're trying to find ways to either do it more effectively or ways that they can apply certain techniques to optimizing their shop or their projects or whatever. So I'd say that predominantly.
Yeah. What about a schedule? You know, are you trying to focus on a release schedule, or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I tend to, I will say in my videos that I post every other week. And for the most part, I do. I try to maintain that schedule as much as possible. But ultimately, when it comes down to is I would much rather compromise on the schedule than the quality of video that I'm putting out. If I'm creating a project and I'm rushing to get it done to fulfill a timeline, it's going to be a crap video. It's going to suck. Like either the video is going to not be done well, I'm going to forget to record certain parts, or the project's just not going to be what I want it to be. And that just doesn't make any sense to me. So I would much rather give a rule of thumb saying I usually post every other week, which gives me room for error, and make sure that every video I put out is some quality content, than to make sure I have content out on a specific schedule and it be mediocre. So I don't really follow the schedule.
Yeah. So the having a schedule kind of adds extra stress in your life, and releasing a video just for the sake of releasing a video doesn't seem wise to me, but it works for some people. Some people just stick to that schedule, and they're going to release a video, whether it's their best or not. They're going to release a video whenever they have it on their schedule.
And I think that really depends on the type of videos you're putting out. So if you're putting out more of vlog style videos, like Friday Workshop, they put out a video every Friday. And a lot of times they are doing projects, but they're usually sitting at like their workbench and they're talking about the project, they're talking about certain items, whatever it may be, but they do it every single Friday. And that's like they're appealing to a very specific audience, and there's nothing wrong with that. But because I know what I'm doing is I'm making projects, because I'm also functioning as a business. Like Shepherd's Workbench is a business for me. It's a part-time gig where I do on nights and weekends. I make projects, I have customers, I do all of that stuff. So the videos that I make are projects for customers or for things that I'm making for my own home. And so because I'm launching project videos, I have to have more of I have to have content that's going to be worth them consuming, because I think it was John from Lincoln Street is talking about kind of how project videos are kind of on the downturn. They're not super popular. People aren't watching them as much. And so I have to make project videos that are worth watching. They're essentially going to be, like, you're not watching it to build the project. You're watching it to learn the techniques or skills, or just because I make them fun and entertaining and people are watching them because of that. So that's really where it comes down to, is like, because of the type of videos I make, I don't follow a schedule.
Yeah. Project videos are tough nowadays. It's hard to get a lot of views with them, and it's hard to grow. So leveraging that education part as you do the project, that seems to be working for some people. So trying to leverage that.
Yeah.
How do you, because you're working full time, you're doing woodworking as a side gig, you're doing YouTube as a side gig.
Yeah, I'm also a part-time counselor too through the state of Illinois, and I'm married and have an 8-year-old stepson. So there's a lot of irons in the fire, so it's a balancing act for sure.
So how do you get motivated sometimes whenever you don't want to make a video, or you don't want to go make another project in the shop? You just don't want to. How do you get yourself up and get out there and do it?
So part of it kind of ties into why I started woodworking in the first place. When I was in college and I was kind of studying to be a minister, my dad, who was also a pastor, he had the advice he gave me was that, hey, if you're going into ministry, you should have a hobby where you can complete something in a day. Because oftentimes when you work with people, you often don't see the fruits of your labor when you're investing time, energy, and effort into people, because that may not come to fruition until years down the road, and you may not see any of that. So the idea was to have a have a hobby that you can see the fruits of your labor in a day. So you can have that sense of accomplishment, which is why I started woodworking in the first place. I should say that's when I started kind of building furniture. I was kind of doing some home remodel stuff, but that's another story for another day. So when I started doing it, it was a way of my self-care. Like that's how I kind of take time to make sure I keep my sanity is by doing the woodworking. And it kind of goes into what I was saying earlier, like making videos and stuff like that. I know that I'm not going to have the greatest camera angles as some other content creators out there. I know that I'm not going to have the greatest camera equipment, or my videos aren't going to be super smooth as everybody else's, but what comes down to it is, what am I doing the video for? Yes, I want to create quality content. Yes, I want to appeal to my audience, but ultimately I'm doing the videos because I enjoy doing them. And so for me to go out in the shop, one, I'm going out there because I need to invest time in myself. I need to kind of complete something. I need to have that sense of accomplishment. And so most of the time I'm setting my phone up on a tripod, I'm hitting record, I'm doing what I need to get done. Usually I'll have to move the camera out of the way because I need to haul a 4x8 sheet of plywood and the tripod's just not where it needs to be. So what comes down to is like the motivation for it is because I know that I need it. So if I know that I need it, I'm going out there and I'm going to make a project. If I shoot it, awesome. There's 9 times out of 10 when I go out in the shop, I'm not making a video. I'm out there to finish customer orders, or I'm out there because I just need to put on some music and I need to tinker with something, so the motivation is, it's like, I know when I get to a certain point where I'm like, all right, I need to go outside in the shop just for me, just so I can feel better.
Yep. I understand. You can use that to help work out some stress, but even our hobbies can add to our stress whenever we set goals for ourselves. So how do you manage the stress of your hobby creates for you?
Okay. So that's a different question entirely.
Yeah.
Or I should say, I did not understand that from the first question.
No. I wanted the first question. This is a different question.
Quite honestly, I have to know my own limitations. A great example was cutting off my fingers. Like, I was working on a deck for a customer. It actually was a friend of a friend. And so I was working on their deck when I cut my fingers off. And because I know how much I enjoy working in the shop, like, I was laid up in bed on painkillers for like 2 weeks trying to recover. I wanted to get out in the shop more than anything, but I just knew, like, I'm going to really hurt myself. I'm going to cause my hand to get infected. Like, all of these other things where I kind of was like, no, I have to not do anything. But I knew that, like, it wasn't going to be something that was going to stop me entirely. And the same thing, so I built, one of my videos I made was like a military rank shadow box. And I had 2 or 3 more orders come from that video within the same week. But I also knew that I had them spaced out because I had other client projects in my timeline. And I knew I was leaving on vacation with my family. So I had all of these other things going on. So it's kind of like, I mitigate as much stress as I possibly can by kind of not giving deadlines when I go with customers. I tell them the order of projects that I have, saying, hey, you're number 4 on my list. It may be 2 months from now. It may be 4 months from now. Now, it's not great to run it as a full-time business that way. Like, you want to give an idea of a better timeline to your clients, but because I'm doing it part-time and I know my work, the quality of my work, I can be lax on deadlines for those kinds of things. And so like, the reason why I haven't put out a video in the last 3 weeks was because I came back from vacation and I was just taking some time just to spend with my family, to catch up on sleep, to be able to invest in the high capacity schedule that I had at my full-time job. And so I hadn't been in my shop for 2 or 3 weeks, so it's kind of having that self-awareness of knowing my own limitations. Like, am I There's times I even have conversations with my wife where I'm like, I'll talk to her about YouTube analytics and say, oh my gosh, like, my video got, 10,000 views or whatever. And she's like, okay, that's exciting. Like, that's really cool. It's like, what is that? What is that validating something for me that's not healthy? Or is it like a healthy sense of accomplishment? And I have to be like, okay, if this is something that's not healthy, or if it's creating a sense of vanity in me, then I know, all right, like this is not my main priority. I need to take a break for a bit, or I need to reevaluate how I'm viewing things. And so it's having that self-awareness to be like, okay, I can let this go. Like this is something that I can worry about another time. Or I know there's times I kind of have a control freak type of stuff when it comes to some of my projects. And so like every part of my project, I'm like, all right, I have to have my hands in everything. But I'm coming to the point where I'm like, you know what? It's okay. I can give things to other people. Like I started selling some like 3D printed parts, like some cutting board feet jigs that I designed and made. And I was just like, it was good. They're selling really well. I'm trying to improve on them. And Jake actually messaged me. He's like, hey, I'm trying to do some of this stuff too. Do you want to work together on this? And a part of me was like, oh, I don't know. Like, can I let go of control to somebody else? Like, can I do this? Is this something that's good? And I was like, you know what? Like, this is where I'm putting too much on my own shoulders. So I'm cool with letting this go. So he and I are like, he's laser cutting pieces for me and helping me redesign stuff. And so it's all coming down to kind of that self-awareness of like, am I creating unnecessary stress in this? If I am, this is not a necessity. I can take a break from it. And that's again going down to, if I know I'm feeling out of whack, or if I'm too stressed out because I'm trying to get this project done or whatever, it's like to cause myself to lose sleep at night because I'm so stressed out to make a video, it's just not worth it. So I'm more likely to just delete whatever raw footage I have left and finish the project, get it done or whatever, and just be like, you know what? I'd rather spend the time to make a quality thing that doesn't stress me out, a quality video, and release it 4 weeks later than I thought it was going to, than to rush and just get it done. So it's that self-awareness of what can I let go of, truly.
Yeah, that's it reminds me of at work, we're always talking about work-life balance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a struggle with what I do, because it's very intense at times whenever you're working on projects and you have deadlines and others are relying on you. At the same time, YouTube and woodworking, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to, meet deadlines, to conform to a schedule, to put out better content with hopes that it will get better results and be able to help more people. And so I think it can become addictive because we kind of get that adrenaline rush whenever we see statistics blow up, like you were talking about. You have a video get 1,000 views and you're just like, yes, I'm actually, people are enjoying what I'm putting out there. I'm able to help people, and this is wonderful. And you kind of get that rush, but is that really where your focus in life should be? And is that where your priorities should be? And yes, it can be important to have it as a side gig, as a hobby, or even as a future business that you're trying to develop. But if it's life consuming, what's the real cost of doing it?
Right.
And I think that's kind of the point you're getting to. If you have to sacrifice your faith, or you're developing pride which conflicts with your beliefs, or if you have to sacrifice time with family, and being able to find that time for yourself as well, then the cost may be too high.
Yeah, and that's like, I know this is not necessarily a biblical principle, but I know that the structure of it came from my faith, where it's ultimately like my faith is number one. I will not compromise on my moral standing on the things that I believe and why I believe. But next comes my family. If I am not investing in my family well, or my family feels neglected, I am not doing my job as a husband or a father. And and third would be my job. So if I'm doing a job that is pulling me away from my family constantly, I need to find a different job. If I'm doing a job, it pays my bills, but it causes me to never see my kid, like I'm going to find a different job. I'm going to find something different, even if it means we're going to struggle for it, or I have to work 2 or 3 jobs. I'm going to do what needs to be done in order to hold my priorities straight. And so, I've got my whole list of priorities, and I know that I don't do it perfectly. I don't think anybody has that down, because there are some times that it's organic where some things have to shift a little bit, but ultimately I know that I have to set those things in place on purpose and be intentional with them, because it's so easy to get caught up in, well, my YouTube channel is growing, like I need to take some time and do this and do that. And then you're spending vacation days to make videos and work on thumbnails and taking courses and things like that, which is not bad. But if it becomes to where you're compromising the thing that's paying your bills in order to fulfill your hobby, like now you've got things that are out of order, and it's not beneficial to your life as a whole. And so maintaining that rigid structure of priorities is really, really important.
Yeah. I think every individual has to define for themselves what's important, and but I'm in agreement with you. God and family first, and then you put those big pieces in. Then the small pieces you can arrange.
Yeah,
but it can be addictive. The whole YouTube thing, woodworking, with any hobby. If you become too obsessive about it, I believe you can go down the wrong road and look back and have regrets.
Yeah.
But if you have your priorities in order and you give it your best and let that best be good enough, then I think you can be happy with the result no matter what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. There was a couple of milestones, and maybe a question or two that I want to get to. I love milestones. So let's look here. Appalachian Heritage Woodshop says, just finished kiln drying the best walnut I've ever worked with in 50 plus years. The log was 24-inch DBH and 22-inch to first limb, sawed into great clear boards. Client wants conference table build.
Ooh, that's awesome. I got a conference table build coming up, and I'd kill for some clear walnut boards that are 22 feet long.
Yeah, Gerald from Appalachian Heritage he went to college. He's a master at the woodcraft, and I bet that table's going to be sweet.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. Let's see. Next one, Mighty Sawdust, 800 plus subs.
Awesome.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Made a trellis technically for myself, but ended up selling it before even getting a chance to take pictures to sell on marketplaces. So I made another.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You must be doing something right if you're selling them before you can get them done and have to make others.
Yeah, definitely.
Good. That's awesome. Let's get to a question from our moderator tonight. Sandy, thank you for being a moderator on the live stream. I always appreciate you and all you do, and hope you're doing great. How do you stay focused and stay the course?
So a lot of it is I like to make a lot of goals for myself. I constantly am reevaluating goals. Usually at least once or twice a year. It's kind of like I have big overarching goals. And one of the things that I learned while I was getting my master's degree is, sorry, I'm pointing like you guys can see it. One of the things that I learned while doing it was creating something called SMART goals, which is simple, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time sensitive. to where you are creating goals that you can achieve, that you put a time frame on. And that kind of helps me stay the course. And again, all of those goals align with my priorities. So the most important goals are going to be concerning my faith, concerning my family, and then my full-time job, and then my part-time jobs, and then YouTube, and then whatever else falls in line. But constantly making goals for yourself that are realistic, that you have control over, are really good for helping you stay the course. Like a goal that I know that as YouTuber content creators we can fall into is like, oh, well, I want to reach 2,000 subs in the next 2 months. Like, that's a great goal. Like, we want to have that evidence of growth, but ultimately you don't have control over that. You have control over the video, you have control over the content, you have control over the quality of videos or like social media interactions, but you don't have control over how many subs you're going to get. So that's a goal that you just don't have the ability to make possible. So you have to evaluate the goals to be able to be, okay, my goal is I want to create 3 quality videos that have been well vetted by friends, that have been, that I am proud to release in the next 6 months. That's there's a time frame. It's simple and it's measurable, that you're taking the 3 videos that you want to put out in the next 3 to 6 months or whatever, and you're saying, I'm going to make these and I'm going to make sure that I'm proud of them. That you have control over. And if the quality of the content is good, the thumbnails are good, the title is good, the algorithm is all of those things are put in place, that can lead to the goal of 2,000 subscribers, but you don't have control of the end result. You have control over what you can invest into it, right? So I think the way of staying the course is just creating goals for yourself.
Yeah, at work we're always talking about those SMART goals, and it never fails. You're going to run into people or even organizations that set goals which are either unattainable or vague.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody says, I'm going to be successful on YouTube. Okay, so
what's successful?
you haven't even defined the measurement yet. You
Yeah.
do not know what it's going to take. The other thing is that they set unrealistic things. I'm going to produce 350 videos next year. How long does it take you to produce one video? I have no idea. Okay, so take a step back and make an assessment before you set the goals, and I agree with you. Set the goals on things you can control. You want to have those key metrics be able to add up to whatever your ideal situation is. So if your ideal situation is 20,000 subscribers, well, break that down. How many videos do you think it would take if you could earn X number of subscribers per video? Okay, now how much time are you going to need to produce each video?
Yep.
and set the goals to try to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's kind of, it's that mentality from school. I remember high school, I'm sure there were people who said, I'm going to be a millionaire when I grow up. Well, growing up is very vague.
Yeah. I see. I'm 31. I don't think I've grown up yet. So,
yeah, so and how are you going to get to that $1 million?
Mm-hmm.
You may earn $1 million, but it may take you 60 years to do it.
Right.
Now I like to talk about goals. Speaking of goals, all right, Jarmate.
Okay.
What is the goal with the channel? Go full time, or always keep it as a hobby?
So my goal, again, like I think I said this before, but my overarching principle is there's nothing that's going to stop me from doing what the work that I'm doing here at the church. I think I will always let that be number 3 priority under God and my family. But I think eventually what I would like to see happen is Shepherd's Workbench as a whole, like whether it's commercial work or the YouTube channel, whatever it may be, I would love to see that be my full-time gig. it's again, like depending on your views of it, like because working for the church is my full-time job, I would much rather have another way of creating income to pay my bills and see the money that is going to me to pay my bills to go into the programs, to go into investing in some of the kids that are here. And I would love to be able to do that eventually. So I think the goal, as far as the channel goes, I think I see the channel as an asset to the Shepherd's Workbench business. And so I would love to see the Shepherd's Workbench business become my full-time gig. And if it's through the avenue of the channel, awesome. If the YouTube channel continues to be a good asset, then awesome. Like I'm totally okay with that. But for right now, until things change, I'm going to maintain it as a hobby until that becomes a viable option. And so that's where it's at for now. But the goal would be to do Shepherd's Workbench full time.
Nice. Sandy again from McKenzie Lumber Mill has a milestone. Just got back into using my chainsaw after quitting the corporate world.
Awesome.
Started my firewood business again.
Congratulations.
I hope that's going well. I think the firewood business probably picks up in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's awesome. Congrats, Sandy.
Yeah.
All right, Wayne over at Bassador Woodworking. Do you still use the blade that took your fingers? Or did it get a space of honor on your wall as your arch
So I still have it. I still use it. And when that blade goes dull, I will put it as a place of honor for sure. A funny story about that. So when I was building a deck with a friend of mine who's a retired Army vet and police officer, and so like when it all happened, he was there with me. So he was like calm, cool, and collected, helped me handle the situation. And while I was recovering after surgery and all of that stuff, he went back to the deck and actually finished it for me, which was super incredible. But the entire time, like all of my tools were still there. And so that was the only circular saw they had on the site. And so every time they were getting ready to use it, they're like, all right, hold on, everybody pause. I'm using the demon saw. And like they were just like, it was this horrible joke. But of course, now that's all I can think to call it is the demon saw. And it still has the same blade in it. So if it was sharp enough to take my fingers and still keep working, I'm going to keep using it. So in case you're interested, it was a Milwaukee blade that took my fingers off. So that Milwaukee, when the Milwaukee emblem is just completely rubbed off and gone, it'll be hung on the French cleat wall behind all of my videos.
Okay, now you've made it brand specific.
Yes, I have. So in case you're wanting to cut through some thick limbs or prepare sausage, your Milwaukee's the way to go.
That's gross.
These are the jokes that I hear from my youth kids. So
I'm sure
I'm just relaying them to you guys.
Yeah. Thanks, Wayne, for the question. So PJ has a comment, and I think it's about our beards.
Yeah.
Do you ever worry about getting your beards caught up in something? I have long hair and pull it back. I'm so afraid it'll get caught in something.
Okay. The answer is yes. I used to tuck it in my my shirt collar. When I started doing videos, I realized how ridiculous it looked. So I was like, okay, well, I can't do that. So I just have to be really careful and aware of it. But now it's gotten long enough. So I ride a motorcycle. And so like when I'm riding the motorcycle, it splits like perfectly down the middle and I could feel it tickling the back of my neck. So I've started it's long enough now to where I can braid it. So now I'm braiding it while I'm in the shop, and it's easier to maintain and control to keep it out of the way. So every once in a while, there was one time I got like a little bit of it got caught in my drill press. That was horrible. It like ripped out a small chunk, and I was like, okay, that's a healthy reminder. I have to be aware that there's long hair growing out of my face. and these tools are spinning. So yes, it is something I now am constantly aware of and doing things to mitigate any sort of terrible situation.
Yeah, same here. I've done the tuck it in the shirt thing, and it looks ridiculous. Even if I pull on a t-shirt here, my daughter lets me know, Dad, you can't have it like that. Get the beard out of the shirt.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not worried about it too much whenever I'm doing something like table saw or drill press, because I'm usually far enough behind it. But I used to have a tendency to get down close to my work whenever I would be doing carving with like a Dremel tool.
Yep.
And now I'm a little bit further back. I don't want to risk having one hair get caught in that thing.
Yep.
It happened too quick.
But
yeah, it's something to be mindful of. That's it's not a dumb question, PJ. I appreciate that. On the beard subject, you use beard products in yours? You put oils?
I used to. I don't really do it anymore. I should say I'll do it if I'm like going out to like, a date night with my wife or something like that. But for the most part, like you get the redneck that just happens to show up in torn up jeans and cowboy boots. So no, I don't really put stuff in it. I do shampoo it though and conditioner. So, that's a pretty regular maintenance thing, but
you got to keep it clean.
Yes.
That's the thing. If you keep it clean, conditioned, I do use different products in mine. I typically rotate. My beard does better if I don't use oil every day, but I'll use like tonight is Australian beeswax, so I just put a little,
Nice.
so it's still soft, but has control.
Yeah.
If I go a couple of days and all I do is wash and condition it, it gets kind of bushy.
I do have a hog hair brush that I do use that every morning. So that helps me maintain to keep it all growing in the same direction. Otherwise it like flares out like I got electrocuted. So
all right. Dusty Trails Workshop says, favorite quote when it comes to staying motivated or pushing you to your next goal.
So I saw the comment and I had to look it up because I wanted to make sure I quoted it right. But it says, again, this is because I'm a youth pastor and it's faith-based. It's Colossians 3:17. It says, and whatever you do in word or deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to the God, the Father through him. And the reason why I think the quote applies, is because ultimately, like with the going back to the priorities thing, priority number one is my faith in Jesus. I do everything in my life with the intention of bringing him glory. And so if I'm setting goals, if I'm doing things if I'm building a jewelry box for a customer, like I'm going to do that as if I'm making it for the number one priority that which is my Lord and Savior. So I'm going to make it for him, as if, even though it's somebody from down the street, like that's what keeps me going. And that's what helps me know, like, I'm going to build my business the same way as if I'm building it for him. If I'm going to invest in my family, I'm going to invest in my church, I'm going to invest in my full-time job as if I'm doing it all for him. So that's my favorite quote to keep me motivated and pushing forward to my next goal, because I'm not doing it for me.
That's a great one. So if I had to give a quote, for me, my first thought was, do or do not. There is no try. So,
that's close. Yeah. Both extremely wise.
yours is better. But I do like, the philosophy. It's not a quote, but I like the philosophy of being deliberate. I want to be, you talk about your faith. I want to be a deliberate follower of Jesus. I want to be a deliberate husband. I don't want to be an accidental husband. I don't want to accidentally do good in my family. I want to be a deliberate father. I want to deliberately make decisions that will have an impact on my daughter. I don't want to accidentally do things that help her or hurt her. I want to be deliberate in everything I do. And that goes to my hobbies and my, my side passions, if you will, of woodworking and YouTube as well. I find whenever I do things deliberately, I tend to think about the consequences of my decisions, and I make better choices versus whenever I just let things happen.
Yeah. Well, and keeping along the theme of quotes, I had a teacher who used to say that he has a full-time job. Like he works 40 hours a week at a job, but ultimately when he goes home, he comes home to his full-time job. That is going to be, he comes home and he's going to do it as if he is doing it because his life depends on it, and because it does. And so I always I don't want to treat my wife and son as a job, but like the premise of, as a lot of us do, we tend to, want to achieve in whether it's YouTube or our careers, but it's the idea of like, I want to achieve at home too. Like I want to be the husband that my wife deserves. I want to be the stepdad that my son deserves. So it's important to keep deliberately doing those things on purpose.
Yeah. I remember years ago listening to someone talk about, everyone that you encounter in life, or everything you do that you're encountering people in life, treat them, face them, pay attention to them like they are the most important person on this earth to you. And then go home to your wife and treat her even better than that.
Yeah.
And I think that concept falls in there. Dusty Trails Workshop, thanks for the question. That was good. That was good talk there. Let's see. I want to make sure I didn't. Okay. So what are your thoughts on the Blackhawks this year?
I have to say, of all of my priorities, Blackhawks have fallen down the scale, unfortunately. So I can't take an educated stab at this. But what I do know is, in the previous years, it's been a lot of rebuilding. Ever since they fired their coach, ever since they've kind of been bringing on a lot of rookies, they are trying to build the rapport. Because again, this is going to be a hockey side note, but in hockey, you have to have really good trust in your teammates for a team to function well. And so, in order to do that, sometimes you have to build rapport with a lot of like the lines in hockey. So for you hockey lovers out there, this is making sense. For everybody else, they're just like, it's gibberish. But just as a team, there's a huge collaborative effort, and so I think they're in the rebuilding phase, and I hope they figure it out eventually.
Yeah. So you talked right over my head with that hockey.
Yeah,
stuff.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's a whole new audience that we're reaching tonight. So I saw this comment from 413 Furniture Builds. I hope they don't mind me sharing. My beard was pretty long, and I was at my real job, and I paint cabinets, and I was painting a door and went to put it in the rack to dry, and my beard went right through it, so I cut it off.
Yeah. Oh, I've done that. reached over my workbench to grab my hammer, and then just beard just went in wet paint or stain or varnish, and so yeah, I've had that, been there.
Whenever PJ asked the question, I wasn't thinking about other things except power tools, but yeah, right. the chemicals are a real thing too.
Yeah. I'm like, I always laugh because every time everybody at my church or my friends know that I'm working on a project, because usually it ends up in my beard somewhere. They're like, oh, are you working with walnut? I was like, what makes you say that? And they like pick out a shaving or something like that.
Yeah, no kidding. What's your most challenging build to date?
Oh man. Okay. I was worried this question was going to come up. Um, it was, I made a video about it, and I think like the thumbnail when I first put it up was like, I almost quit because it was like, it drove me crazy. And I actually I'm going to grab as I'm talking about this. So it was a cabinet for an essential oils like rack. And so they wanted these drawers that like flipped out forward. And I couldn't find anything commercially that like would work for it. And so I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll, build a little like hardware piece out of plywood that lets it fold out. And I had this whole design. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to 3D print them. And so I did. And this is one of the pieces that didn't work. But essentially, like the idea was that I could put a screw through this part that has like a little channel in it. So I put a screw through there so it can like rotate on this. And then like these two holes here had like a captive nut that would bolt it to the drawer. And then this would be the pivot point, and I'd get it to be in there and I'd get it to flip. It took me like 10 hours to get it to work because I kept having to move the hole and patch it and then like adjust it. And then like the drawer was like 3 inches wide. So like trying to get my hand and a screwdriver in there to tighten this, it was just, there were lots of tools that were thrown in that 10 hours of me trying to figure it out. So I do have build plans for it. So it did take me some time, and I got it figured out, but that was probably the most challenging thing because in that build, I made everything. I made the hardware, I made the cabinet, I made the drawers. Like, so it was like, I had a lot invested in it. And so it was like, I'm going to make this work. I was like, it's going to happen. Like you're going to bow to my will here, drawer. So that was probably my most challenging build to date for sure.
Yeah. So, I think we got the questions and milestones. If I missed any ones, please repeat them. But let me ask you some of the standard questions, Joe, if you got a few minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what kind of software are you using to edit your videos?
I use Adobe Premiere. We purchased the suite for the church, and we actually bought it because I have another YouTube channel that I don't advertise through the church where I make like kids cartoon videos, and it is very different from woodworking. And it's literally just called Story Time with Joe, and it's like Bible story videos with kids, and I have like several different characters that I play, and like it's super fun and I love doing it. But we bought the software for me to continue making those and not use iMovie, which really sucked. So it's all on my computer anyway. So I'm like, it's what I'm familiar with. It's what I know. And so I use Adobe Premiere Pro.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What kind of camera are you videoing with?
So I use my iPhone 11 to capture all of my videos. And the reason why I do it is simply out of convenience because I can shoot the video on my phone. I use my phone as a teleprompter. I use an app called Big View, BIGVU, as like the letter U. And it creates a teleprompter so I can upload all my scripts in there. It positions the script so it's right next to the camera, so it looks like I'm looking at the camera even though I'm reading a script. And then once I have all of the footage, I can airdrop it onto my laptop, and it is just super simple. It's kind of like I don't have to mess with SD cards, I don't have to mess with external hard drives, none of that. So I just shoot it on my iPhone.
Yeah. So about how long does it take you to edit a video? Like per minute of video. How long is it taking you to edit?
So I try to keep all of my videos under 10 minutes. I haven't always done that, but that's kind of the rule of thumb I follow now. And usually I will have almost an hour of raw footage. So I want to say it probably takes me 2 to 3 hours to edit the video to get rough edits. Once I get a rough edit out, I'm sending it to Make with Jake. There's another person I kind of talk to that does a video game YouTuber, and so I'll send videos to him and put it up on our Discord and kind of get feedback, and then I go back and edit it again. And so I don't know, the rough edit probably takes me 2 or 3 hours, and then fine tuning that's probably another hour or two. And So it takes me a good 5 hours just to go through the raw footage. That doesn't count making the actual project. So
Sure.
yeah.
So what are you doing next? What's on the bench?
Right now on the bench is a built-in fireplace and bookshelves. It's going to be a 2-part video, which I know doesn't always perform well, but it's going to be like, it's a built-in electric fireplace with like a live edge walnut mantle top in it. And it's a lot of work right now, but that's what's on the bench. And it's been on my bench for like 2 months. So I need to get my butt cracking on that. So it's either going to be that or, I have, for those of you who are out there, like I have an EDC, or an everyday carry, like pouch that I make that has my Leatherman Wave, a flashlight, and a pen. And we got a new puppy a month or 2 ago, and he ate my old one. So I have to make a new one. So that might be up there too. I'm not sure. So it's a leatherworking video as opposed to woodwork. So
I tell you, puppies always do it to you.
Yeah, every time.
That's great. You got another question here.
Yeah.
From Wayne over at Bassador Woodworking. What tool is your shop most lacking right now?
Like, I don't know. So that's the reason why it's a hard question for me to ask is because I'm of the mindset is there's probably a tool out there that will do this better, but I'm always looking for ways around and fulfilling with what I have, fulfilling the purpose I need to achieve. So like, for example, a drum sander would be awesome for when I make cutting boards. Two times a year, I usually have a huge cutting board sale and I make like 40 of them and then I sell them all. And when I'm out. Having a drum sander would be awesome, but I have a palm sander. So I have to sand all of them that way, or having a larger planer would be so cool, but I don't have the room for it. I have a planer that I have to lift up from under my bench and lift up on top. So it's like a milling cart would be great, like to put my planer and jointer on, so it's like, I'm sure I could come up with an awesome wish list of a 14-inch bandsaw that I could put a 3/4-inch resaw blade in. That would be cool, but I don't need it. So I can get around it in some way, shape, or form. So I can think of a ton of tools, but for the most part, I have built up my shop enough to where I'm sure I could find a way to complete any task that I need to get done. Thankfully.
Are you using a Macintosh?
Yes, I use a Macintosh. So like with Macintosh, they have, or with Apple, there's the Apple AirDrop. So it communicates with all Apple products. Like I have an iPhone, an iPad, and a MacBook Pro. So what it does is it uses like the Wi-Fi in order to share files back and forth. And so that's actually why I started shooting videos on my iPhone. I was shooting on a Canon Vixia, I believe it's called. It was like a $300 camera. And when I was moving the SD card back and forth and then getting ready to shoot a video and realized I left my SD card at my office and having to go back to the church at like 12 o'clock at night to go get an SD card so I could finish filming. I was like, you know what? My phone's always in my pocket. I can shoot 1080p videos. It does great. And it communicates well with my laptop. And I was like, that's just the easy solution. That just makes the most sense. So yes, I'm an Apple guy and I use all Apple products.
Look who joined us. Mastering Mayhem.
Awesome.
Marius has been on here before.
Mm-hmm.
He has started a new channel called the Versus channel, which has videos just where it's, gas powered versus electric, or
cool.
versus battery, or the Milwaukee versus the DeWalt versus whatever, different kind of tool. Out. And everybody should go check that out. And on his regular channel, one Saturday a month, he gives away tools. So if you like giveaways, he does giveaways every month. So go check it out.
So cool.
Hello, Alien Leader. All right. So if anyone did, if I missed a question, you have just a minute to repeat it so that we can get it in here. Joe, I appreciate you you coming on tonight. Where can we find you? I know the Shepherd's Workbench on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
How about
I have
anything else?
I have a Shepherd's Workbench Facebook page, Instagram. I'm on Discord. I have my website. I check the email pretty often, which is just joe@shepherdsworkbench.com. Website is shepherdsworkbench.com. Yeah, I'm pretty active on most social medias. I do have TikTok too, if you guys want to check those out, I guess. Like, it's not super successful and I don't check it very often, but I'm there. So yeah, if it's usually it's either under Joe Shepherd or it's under Shepherd's Workbench. So you can find me on all platforms.
Yeah. That's awesome. Now, which other than YouTube, what's your favorite social media form?
It's becoming Instagram. But right now I use Facebook more than anything. And I know all of my kids remind me that's like makes me an old man, apparently, that Facebook is done and over with, but that's just primarily what I use. Because honestly, like that's where I get most of my customers from, because they find my Facebook page and they look up my website or whatever, and they find me on Facebook and then they message me on Facebook. And so I'm constantly checking that because my business lives and dies on Facebook right now.
Sure.
So,
yeah, a lot of people have that.
Mm-hmm.
413 Furniture says, does anyone watch the YouTube channel Chester? He does some of the work like I do, and I kind of like the way he does his videos. He don't talk very much. He just builds, and he has music playing. So I'll have to check out Chester.
That sounds a lot like a Jimmy DiResta approach, where Jimmy DiResta, like sometimes he'll do a voiceover and sometimes it's just him doing what he's doing music. Or another one who does that is like Andy Rawls, or Rawls. It's RAWLS. But he does the same thing where it's kind of like the ASMR approach, which is cool. And I think I tend to like those, like just for the sheer entertainment value of just watching them. So they're pretty cool. But I'll have to check out Chester. Sounds right up my alley.
Yeah. Good stuff. Again, thank you for being here and for being in the Facebook group. We've been interacting. You recorded something for me to include in one of my recent video, which is actually months old now. But I do appreciate that, and I always appreciate your friendship. Do you ever need anything from me? You just reach out, and I'll try to be there. Yeah. And until next time, bless you.
Yeah.
And
glad
as for me, I hear the wife calling. I gotta go.
You know there ain't another girl like her in the city. No, you know she looks so good, but she ain't so pretty. I feel this way, but I'm the ride she's driving insane. And don't you know you oughta pump the brakes? I can't tell you why don't you let it go. I'm aligning and finally I'ma let you know you're somewhere in between my legs. Hey, you know there ain't another girl like her in the city. Yeah, you know she looks so good, but she ain't so pretty. Well, I can't believe I rode so long. With this whole time you riding me wrong. Don't you know you oughta take a risk, try your best, give it to me straight, and don't deny or reply. I don't wanna wait. We're at the end of let go of everything. There ain't another girl like her in the city. No, no, you know she looks so good, but she ain't so pretty. So leave me alone before I end it up here on the phone with other reason to be had on the land for a while.
having the avatar behind the camera. I do think it helps to imagine that you're actually talking to somebody who will be watching the video. Sometimes it's easy to forget that you see numbers of people watching, but you forget that these are actual people watching your video on their phone or on their TV or wherever. And I think it's important to keep that in mind.